In this video, what we're going to do is cover 5 solid tips that those of you that are skinny, that are trying to bulk up and you're saying you have loads of issues actually packing on some size. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have 5 tangible tips you can actually do to hopefully start building on some muscle mass. Alright, these 5 tips are in no particular order. I'm just going to say the first ones I feel like they're coming to mind. Anyways, number 1 is you are unknowingly under eating, because many of you are saying I'm having 4,000 calories and I'm still not gaining weight. A lot of the times it's because you're not correctly tracking your food. For example, you're talking about tracking 60 grams of pasta. The problem is if you're tracking the dry weight of it, typically pasta doubles in size. So if you're actually in the app doing the dry weight, but when you've poured it out on a plate, when it's cooked, you're putting in 120 grams. You've now doubled the calories on that specific food. So whatever app you're using, you have to make sure that you have actually typed in cooked weight or uncooked weight. So as you can see, there is many ways that you can literally veer off path by accident, and that's just one food item. Imagine if you're doing that with multiple things like pasta, rice, chicken, salmon. This definitely can have a massive impact on the amount of calories it says at the end of the day. Now, if you're a skinny person now that is suffering to try and pack on muscle mass and you're saying you're a hard gainer and you have done step number 1, you're making sure that's correct, you need to progressively be overloading your workout. For those of you that don't know what that means, basically lift heavier over time. So if you've been training now for say 6 months or a year or even 3 months and you haven't increased any of the weights and any of the main compound exercises at all, something is going wrong. You should be increasing the weight over time. That doesn't mean every single time you step in the gym you should be able to lift heavier, or every single week, but month to month you should be seeing some sort of improvements. And if you're someone that just doesn't know how to track that, an easy thing is to bring a little notepad with you, or write notes in your phone, I guess, of the main key exercises. You don't necessarily have to do for every single thing, like every small little isolation bicep workout. But for example, if you do bench, deadlift or squats or barbell rows, any big compound movement, you should definitely be tracking that just to kind of see month to month, are you making any progress? If you can't lift heavier, are you managing to move the weight easier? Can you control the weight a lot more? There's many factors when it comes to progressive overload, but if you are not seeing any of them, you are not going to be building on muscle. Bearing in mind that you have increased your diet and you're having the right amount of protein, because if you're not eating the right amount of food, no matter how hard you're training, you are not going to actually build like monumental amount of muscle mass that you can see a difference in the mirror. If you're a newbie, yes, you'll get a little bit leaner, but you want to actually pack on some size and actually look bigger, you have to eat. You have to monitor your cardio and your daily expenditure. For example, if you're someone that does like a sport every single week, like football, rugby, whatever it is, and you do that quite frequently, you are going to have to eat more calories than the average person because you are moving around a lot, burning crazy amounts of calories. Rugby and football is almost like doing HIIT training for like a long period of time. That burns a crazy amount of calories, and you need to eat a lot just to maintain your weight, let alone trying to get bigger. So unless you're willing to quit your sport, which I don't recommend you doing if you enjoy it, you know you have to kind of know that you have to eat more. And that includes people that have like a very manual labor job, or people that move around a lot, just doing lots of steps. So it doesn't come down to just sports. For example, a janitor, a gardener, someone on a builder site, a nurse, people that walk around crazy amounts in a day, you'll be surprised how much calories that burns. If you're from say 9 to 5 or whatever your shift is, if it's a long period of time, moving around, walking loads, or even public transport, you live in London and you're doing 15,000, 20,000 steps, over 10,000 steps a day on average, all the time, every day, you're going to eat more calories than the average person. Because the average person, even though they should do around 10,000 steps, most people do nowhere near that. So that is something you really need to keep in mind. It's not just about like super fast metabolism and stuff. A lot of the times it's because you burn like calories in a day and don't even know about it, because some of it maybe just be literally just walking around loads of times in a day. If you're someone that really wants to optimize the amount of muscle growth you will get, especially if you're training in a gym, which I assume you are if you're watching this video, depending on what your protein intake is, you should increase it. For example, if you're someone now that's sitting here watching, you're 150 pounds and you're pretty slim, you should probably be having at least 150 grams of protein. At the very low end, 140 at the lowest, and that depends. So it's a lot easier when talking about protein intake if you're a slim person. If you're someone that's overweight now, that's like 220 pounds, I wouldn't be telling you to have 220 grams. However, for very lean individuals and slim individuals, it's usually almost per pound of body weight, have 1 gram of protein. So if you're 130 pounds watching this, have at least 130 grams of protein. If you're 170 pounds watching this and you're like 5'10", 6 foot, have at least 170 grams of protein. And you're probably wondering how to do that. Easy way is to obviously look into high protein foods. I will put a list on screen of some of the high protein foods that you can mix into your diet that aren't too crazy in calories that you can mix in. And to be honest, if you're someone that's struggling gaining weight, you don't even have to worry about having low calorie, high protein foods. You just need to make sure you're eating foods with a decent amount of protein in it. And that doesn't mean just eating McDonald's burgers, because you know what I mean, you can probably fit them in if you're a very, very true hard gainer, but in reality, make sure that a good portion of it is pretty decent food you're cooking at home as well, because the quality of food you eat as well does matter and does factor in. Like, your body needs micronutrients as well as the actual main macros of fats, protein and carbs, so bear that in mind as well. But anyway, overall, try and increase your protein intake, because a lot of people that speak to me are having stuff like 70 grams of protein and wondering why they're struggling to try and pack on some muscle. Okay, finally, the next tip is eat more carbs. And the reason why I'm saying that is not because carbs are magical, it's simply because there's multiple ways it can actually help you. Obviously, I said focus on protein first, so make sure you're hitting that. The reason why you should increase your carbs is because a lot of people, for some reason, when trying to gain muscle and also get lean, they think they should almost eat virtually no carbs, so they're just not eating much of it, which is wrong. So one of the reasons why you should increase your carb intake is simply because it will give you more energy throughout the day and will really help your training performance. For those of you out there that are trying to gain fat super rapidly, that is not the way. If you gain weight super rapidly, you will get fat super rapidly. It's all about gradual increases, so every week or 2 weeks, you should be seeing an increase in the scale, hopefully. You don't want to, for example, be gaining like 4, 5, 6 pounds a week. That's too much. You shouldn't be gaining more than, say, 2 pounds a week, and that's if you're underweight. If you're someone that's somewhat average for your size, but you just want to get bigger, try and opt for around no more than a pound per week. Anyway,